so we should do something to fix them. It's not based on reason. They're not making their argument that we should.
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely some people making arguments based on reason in terms of intersectionality and critical gender theory and critical race theory and.
Yeah, they try to, like everyone. Everyone starts with their position and they try to find reasons to justify.
Yeah, and I'm saying I don't think the atheist community is generally.
That's not the thing. So the reason people argue for the inclusivity and the diversity quotas and those kind of things is just because those people have had a history of not being able to get those things. So we need to give them affirmative action so that they can do that, just for moral reasons. It's not because it works. Whether or not it works is a secondary concern for them. It's not the justification.
So can I clarify something here?
Okay, that's interesting enough, I guess. But then my question would be, why are atheists more concerned with something like religion, which has no quotas? We're not saying we need a certain amount of Christians in every program. I mean, it's obviously universities and the law have become, for the most part, entirely secular. Not only in the writing of separation of church and state, but just in the implementation. I mean, you can argue things like abortion are still, while largely pro-life is religious people, they're not justifying it that.
So their only justification is that black people were slaves, we hurt them, we should give them stuff. Same with Indians. That's essentially their justification. And so if we were treated, Christians badly, they would probably have a quota too.
But my question is, wait. My question is, shouldn't we be more concerned with the current political policies that are actually affecting the world and not just the religious preference that someone has that has virtually no impact, and if anything, is actually makes them more productive and tolerant in society than like people that don't have that religious preference? I mean, it seems like a weird thing to focus on, in my opinion.
I don't think religion.
Did you say that Christians are more tolerant in society?
That sounded like what he said to me too.
Of course, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
It's not my experience.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
No, not mine either.
Are Christians more? Who's more tolerant than Christians?
Atheists?
Hey,
Really? Is there a stat on that?
Sunflower.
Yeah, there actually is.
Okay, I would like to see it, but
Like if we can measure culturals based on
I
their
was kicked out
acceptance
by
of
Christian family and atheists.
Can you guys hear me?
So
Yeah,
Christian or atheists are more accepting in essentially every culture of every different ideology and perspective, and we can measure it based off of majority non-religious countries and how accepting they are of different.
I'm just talking about America because we have separation of church and state here, so it's a little bit different than other places. Obviously, not theocratic countries like Saudi Arabia.
Compared to America, all the secular countries do better.
America is a secular country.
Is it?
I mean, majority secular. Let's say that.
How many states have a requirement?
No. We actually explicitly in our Constitution is a separation of church. Like we're
that's not the point here. The point here is the majority of people who are accepting, and the majority of people who are accepting are non-religious. They are the non-religious people. The majority of the people who are non-religious in majority non-religious countries are more accepting of other cultures and other people, more so than America or any other majority Christian country or any other religious group.
Every country, I think, is either majority Christian, Jewish, or Muslim, or like Buddhist or something.
No.
There's no majority. Is there a majority atheist country besides China?
Non-religious, yeah. Like the UK just passed over 50% non-religious.
Really? I actually didn't know that. Okay.
Most of the European countries are majority non-religious. France is non-religious.
Hey, Sunflower.
Yeah, what's up?
So I'll say this, I guess. Once this car goes by. Sorry, I'm taking a bike ride. It's probably been pretty noisy. I was going to say, I'm gay, and I have never heard anybody who's an atheist tell me that I shouldn't be gay because, they were told so by some authority. I've never heard that. I've only heard people criticize me for it because they were religious and they say their God told them so. So I'll say that.
Yeah, I get that. When I think tolerance, I don't really think opinion. I think like right to exist.
Tolerance is opinion.
Everyone has a mean opinion. Like if you're talking about tolerance, then all atheists are virtually pretty much intolerant. In fact, they disapprove of like religion, but they're not. I would agree that atheists are not trying to
So when tolerance, we're talking about like people's rights in a society and whether or not they're mistreated or treated like crap, or
Right, exactly. And I'd say
Christians
that,
are not tolerant in that sense. Atheists give
well,
everyone
in
the same-
America, they are, yeah. In America, Christians are not, how are Christians in America depriving gay people of rights?
Most
They're
of
lobbying
the
to keep
laws-
people from being able to marry people of the same sex. They're,
Yeah.
trying,
Well,
like, they're
more-
also just creating a bunch of public hate about it.
They literally
Gay
passed.
camps?
Well,
Don't forget
again,
gay
again,
camps.
again, I don't consider having a negative opinion on something
No,
intolerant. I
they-
think they're intolerant is when you start actually
intolerance
implementing.
comes from kicking them out, firing them, trying
Right.
to get legislation to
Right, right,
all the
exactly.
things that
Not
they
just
do
trying, but they
in America
literally
to try and succeeding.
they
Yeah,
literally
succeeding.
passed
Well,
laws.
it's a strange. It's all relative, and I'd say that, I guess if you're invoking countries that are majority non-religious, like you said, then those are good basis of comparison. But America has to be close to one of the most accepting of gays people in the world. I mean,
No, it's not.
is
so
it not?
I'll tell you that from firsthand experience.
Well, kind of
Okay.
like if he's comparing it to every other country, it's probably in the top 25%, maybe.
Oh, definitely.
But it's
Yeah,
not
I'd
even
agree with
close.
that.
No, if you're talking just developed nations, it's in the bottom 25%.
Okay, I didn't know that, honestly, but I have to look more into the data that UK is mostly non-religious. Like, does that mean that they're actually atheists, though? Because people, like, being nominally Christian is not being atheist. But it could be considered being non-religious.
Atheist is a specific, it's a term that only people who are actually in the field really know about. It's not something most people really understand. So it's not a term they can use accurately in the studies. It's just, do you believe in a God, or
Can
do
you
you?
post me the study that said? Well, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm curious to see the study about over 50% of the UK being non-religious.
Google it?
In my country, it's
Search
something
it
like
if you
that.
have. If you can even just tell me what platform it is, I'll just search it. Don't even worry.
Google UK majority non-religious. UK majority non-religious, or majority 52%. Christian is 38%. It's just irreligion in the United Kingdom. Wikipedia.
Okay, religion. I see it right here.
Just Google UK majority non-religious. and it should be
Yeah, I
first
have the
thing that pops up.
Wikipedia open. I'm looking for that stat though. I don't see it.
I just literally just popped up on my screen as the first line. Alt print screen.
Religion. Oh, I see. Frequently estimate. Wait, but that says other surveys. The British Census says it's the second largest viewpoint after Christianity. And again, that's staggering, because if it's the second largest after Christianity, then that means
No, it's not. Christianity is the second largest.
I'm reading right here.
I posted the picture in the chat.
Okay, let me see.
Frequently estimates the non-religious are the majority, 52% in 2019 compared to 38% Christian.
No, that's from other. That's from If the pretext of that is other studies such as the annual British Social Attitude Survey, but the best
Okay.
one, the British Census, does not say that.
Disconnected there.
Here, I'll paste this.
So
This is the full quote from that passage. So, the gold standard in Britain is the their national census, which puts irreligion as the second largest viewpoint after Christianity. And then other surveys, such as the British Social Attitude Survey, which asks a different question than the census, which is, do you regard yourself as having a religion? Frequently estimate that non-religious people are in the majority.
which is actually a way better question than what is your religion?
Because you
Why?
don't. Because you could go
Because
to
one
church
is-
and not believe in God. It's just a social cue.
And also, what is your religion?
Well, do you think these
Assumes
people are
that you
polling
have
the
a
same
religion.
exact amount of people? The census is definitely accessing a bigger sample size than whatever the other study is. I assume.
No, again, it's the different questions. They're going to get the same result, both of them, if they ask the same questions pretty much, because the sample size is both pretty large on them. So the
Oh, wait.
point is
it?
that
I mean,
people
this
go
says
to church and don't believe. The vast majority of people do not actually believe in a God. They don't affiliate with Christianity. They just go as a social thing. That's it. There's not
Well,
actually a belief system there.
I mean,
But that's the same as what's happening in every country. It's going to continue to grow until every country, the developed country, is non-religious. That's the pattern we see consistently in every country. So it's not really surprising.
okay. I mean, I'm not entirely sold on this Wikipedia entry that this is conclusively the UK is conclusively more non-religious than religious. But even if we
Okay.
did that, I mean,
It doesn't matter if you are or not. I mean, we can just look at the pattern in every single developed country. It's going to happen eventually, pretty soon, no matter what, even if you don't think it is
I'm
now.
not sure with patterns. We were juxtaposing American tolerance of gay people with European tolerance of gay people. The current data is what's applicable here, not the trend.
Yes, and the Europeans are more tolerant than we are, and they have more non-religious people. So our
Okay, I'm
point
not, I'm not,
stands.
I'm not, I'm not necessarily opposing that. I mean, I have to, I guess, specifically look into it. But as far as the claim that we're in the bottom fourth of the developed nations, I don't know. I have
for
to
sure.
look.
I think that the problem is that it's really hard to conclude that people are like the society is more tolerant because it's less religious. But what you can look at is you can look at individual attitudes and group attitudes towards certain people. So I would say that there's a lot of evangelical Christians in the country, and if you ask most of them, they would say that they don't think that gay marriage is a moral thing. Now, whether they think that it should be legal or not is a different question. But my definition of tolerance is not just whether you think that it should be legal for somebody to do something or not. It's whether you think that it's okay.
That's a very first world standard of tolerance, but sure.
I think it's a pretty reasonable definition of tolerance. If
Well,
I
some
say
people are
I
dying.
hate,
Some people
so do
are
you think?
some gay people are being murdered. So I mean, okay.
Let me ask you
I think
this:
being allowed to just be legally is a pretty great standard of tolerance.
Do you think that a KKK member who thinks that black people are an inferior race but doesn't think that it should be legislated on are tolerant?
No, but I wouldn't say that
Then why do,
I wouldn't say that though. Well, wait a second. The KKK doesn't represent the majority of people in the country. This is a small radical group.
That really
it
wasn't his
doesn't
question,
matter?
though.
You're saying the
That's
entire
not relevant.
country of America is not
No,
tolerant of gay people?
no. I said individual
Well, okay.
Christians and
Well,
Christianity as
you
a
said
whole.
you said most Christians in America are not do not view gay people as the same way the KKK views black people. So that's not a good analogy.
I didn't say that. I'm talking about individual people. I didn't say that the
That wasn't the analogy.
majority
Just
of.
Well, yes, okay. So to answer your question, no, the KKK is not tolerant of black people, and that's also completely irrelevant to how Christians in America view gay people.
If a Christian says, "I don't believe that straight people," or "I don't believe that," I believe that gay people are inferior to straight people, which many of them say, at least from the
Yeah, that's not
perspective of their.
tolerant. That's
Yeah, well, and that's what a lot of them say, and that's what I would say that.
Is it a sin? Is it a sin to be gay?
inferior is definitely the wrong word to use there.
Is it
Like
a sin?
100%.
Is it
Yeah,
a
right.
sin?
Yeah.
If so,
They would say it is. Yeah.
then
Yeah.
that's intolerant.
Well, I would.
No, it's
if you're-
not.
Yes, it is.
Christians say they're all sinners.
That doesn't make a difference. So
Yes,
we
it
don't
does.
say it's a sin. They do say it's a sin. They're more intolerant. It's pretty simple.
And
Oh,
if
yeah,
we say
compared to
that they're not
atheists, but-
sinners,
but,
then
like,
we're
I mean-
still more tolerant of them than they are of each other. At least in that sense. There might be other ways to other places where you might want to
Well,
judge.
yeah.
that,
Again,
like,
more tolerant is fine. If you want to consider who's the most tolerant, but I feel like there's kind of a better standard. Just like, are you tolerant or are you not?
did you say that
Christians have a pretty
Christians
good
are
track record.
the most tolerant?
I was okay. Sure, maybe I'll concede they're the second most tolerant after atheists. That's fine. I'm not really. That's not a big deal to me because atheists makes up such a small portion. And the countries, by the way, the countries that nationalized atheism, like the Soviet Union, how's their human rights record on gay people? I think it's still banned. It's interesting that the trend as people get more non-religious, it's increasing in acceptance until you go full non-religious, until you nationalize it, and then it's forbidden.
That has nothing to do with non-religious. That has to do with socialism and different kind of political policies, not non-religious. So it's not taking non-religious at all. It has nothing to do with it. It's just secondary concern to the political stance of the people.
Yeah. And also keep in mind the Soviet.
No, they're not in any way related. It's just
and the Soviet related in complex ways.
No, it's not.
Yes.
No, it's provably false. So again, it's like saying, pick a random author like J.R.R. Tolkien and say, "Oh, she's a Christian, therefore her doctrine is a Christian doctrine." Like, no.
No, my sample size is not one. My sample size is not one. The only country
I think you mean J.K. Rowling.
Doesn't matter. There are no authorities in atheism. There are countries that nationalize socialism, and then as a part of that, they also reject religion because it's a part of socialism.
No. China has nationalized atheism.
Stop talking, or I'm going to mute you. Atheism is not at all a part of their doctrine. It's a consequence of their socialism. They are socialistic, and therefore they reject religion, like all ideologies, not just religious ones, because they don't want people to be in groups. It has nothing to do with atheism. It's socialism.
And also, by the way, the Soviet Union existed from the early 1920s until, or I think the late 1910s, to the early 1990s. So keep in mind that the time frame there is a lot different than modern times. People have become way more tolerant in almost all developed countries of gay people between 1990 and 2020.
So if you think that China is what happens when you take atheism to its extreme, you're a fucking moron. Okay, it has nothing to do with atheism.
I said national.
Stop. So again, no one cares. No atheists agree with what China is doing. That is not a representation of atheism. It's a representation of socialism. It is not. It has nothing to do with atheism at all.
I said it's nationalized atheism. I didn't say it's the logical end of an increased trend in atheism.
Actually, you did.
Nationalized atheism.
No. I said it's interesting that as the trend increases with atheism, you're saying it's more tolerant.
So that isn't in the trend. That's the point. That is not a part of the trend at all. It's a part of it.
Well, did I say it was part of the trend, or I say it's interesting that the states that have, in cases of state atheism, they're the most intolerant towards gay people. That's all I said.
You just said that's a part of the trend. No, that is not a part of the trend.
No, I didn't. I said it's interesting that it's not part of the trend. That's what I said.
What?
I literally said it's interesting that it's not part of the trend, but that it is part of the states that have the countries that have nationalized atheism. That was my verbatim quote.
Atheism isn't
no, that's not what I heard. No.
Atheism isn't an ideology or even a worldview.
It's actually a lack of an ideology.
Well,
so what is this Wikipedia entry? Like, can you click on this Wikipedia page and tell me what it is talking about? If this is just a concept that's never existed before.
What are you talking about?
Wikipedia.org/wiki/state_atheism.
Yeah, again, it's states who have implemented atheism. That's not atheism and its extreme. So again, the point here is that can states implement it? Yes. Does that have anything to do with atheism? No. The fact that states implement atheism is not a representation of atheism at all.
Well, then, are states that implement religions as a theocracy, is that a representation of those religions?
No, we can't say Christianity is bad because in the Congo, the Christians mass murdered people. We can't blame Christianity for that.
Okay.
It's fucking stupid, obviously.
Well, okay.
And it's even more strange and ill-founded to claim that because of atheism, a country did such and such, because atheism is literally the lack of religious motivation. And I'm struggling to find an analogy here, but you can't say, oh, okay, well, because you don't believe in God, then you are going to be, because religion is the thing that commands people to do things, and atheism is the thing that rejects that.
The reason we can judge religion for being bad is because the religious doctrines themselves are bad, not because religious people are bad. We can't say, well, the religious people did it, therefore the religion is bad.
Exactly. I've been wanting to say that for a while. So to recap what Tom is saying it's a group condemnation or group guilt is just as wrong applied to atheists as it is to Christians. Like he said, it's wrong to say that Christians are bad because a Christian group in the Congo kills other people, just as it's wrong to say that the USSR implemented atheistic ideology and to blame all atheists for that.
I'll say this. Show me where in the atheist Bible it says that gay people are committing a crime against the high authority of atheism.
Wow, that was profound.
Well, if atheism had doctrines and had a book and taught from that book, you could criticize atheism on account of what is being taught by that book. It doesn't have one, so you can't, but we can criticize both Islam and Hindu and Christianity based on the doctrines that they teach.
I'm very well aware of this argument. I'm not denying it, but this ignores the possibility. I'm not saying this is true, that the possibility that a lack of a belief could lead to certain behaviors is not that far-fetched. Like if someone says, I lack a belief that human lives are of any value. Well, it's just a lack of a belief, but that person might then be willing to do certain things to human lives that other people wouldn't.
No,
I mean, I'm just saying.
They'd need another belief. They'd say, I want to kill people, and that would be the belief that's the problem. The lack of belief wouldn't be relevant there.
Wait a second. No, like,
and even if it was,
so wait a second. I lack a belief that rocks are of moral value. If I kick a rock on the street on my way home from school, it's not because I have some burning desire to kick rocks. I didn't regard them as mattering in the first place, so I just
No. So you kicked the rock for a reason. It wasn't just because you lacked belief the rock had value. You wanted to kick the rock. You had a feeling.
Rocks. The way I categorize rock, the same way that the
way you categorize rocks doesn't mean it. Your categorization can't cause you to do anything. Any action you do is going to be caused by some belief. So your belief that you had that caused you to kick anything or want to kick anything at all is going to be the cause of why you kick the rock. Your lack of belief isn't going to cause you to kick anything.
How I regard the rock, if I regard that it's a rock or a person that's going to feel pain, does influence whether or not I'm going to kick it.
No, it doesn't.
Yes.
It literally can't. You literally need a positive belief to do something. It's literally
if there's a robot puppy.
Stop, I'm going to mute you. You cannot literally, it is impossible for a negative belief to influence action. You need a positive belief of some kind to influence action.
Oh, no, I agree with that.
Which means your lack of belief in the value of the rock makes no difference. You're never going to kick it until you have a positive belief system in addition to your lack of belief. So the lack of belief can never cause you to do anything. Literally, by definition.
And Sunflower, let's say it did. Let's say that you could be influenced to do something because of a lack of belief. I would say that you might have a case if you said that if that were true, which I don't believe it is, but if it were true, you might have a case if you said that atheist atheist people tend to be hostile towards religious people. But if you're saying that atheist people have a tendency to be hostile towards gay people, those are not directly connected in any way, or they're not even like
not explicitly, right?
They're not really connected at all. Whereas atheism and theism are connected, at least much closer than atheism and homosexuality. So if you're taking that view, then you have to look at how close the two things are that you're claiming are, caused by, or at least correlated to another thing.
But on top of that, also, if you believe that you get your values from Christianity, then you wouldn't have any problems with stoning people.
Well, I'm not saying Christianity. I didn't say Christianity. I'm invoking theism.
Okay, well, if you're invoking theism, then what sorts of theism are good and what sorts of theism are bad?
I have no idea. I'm just a guy off the street. So let me make myself more clear. If there's a robot puppy that looks identical to a real puppy and acts like a real puppy, and I see it on the street and I'm kicking rocks in the street, I'm not going to kick that puppy despite the fact that it's the same as a rock effectively in terms of sentience and so forth.
I think you've changed your
So
point
my
here.
point is, let me explain. If my default position is that I do value certain things, even if it's based on a false belief, that still means that if I lose that belief, I'm now attaching a previous value judgment I had on a certain thing. That now it's not going to ever make me want to hurt that thing, but it puts it in a category where I might not care if I do. So that's what I'm saying here, and that's. I mean,
You
I don't know.
kind
Call
of
me
Right.
crazy,
So,
but I
so
think
that, no, no, that's correct. That's if you don't have a belief system, it will take away any of your value of things. That means you have to add a belief system in, which is why most atheists don't just believe atheism, they also believe humanism, which is why socialism is not in any way representative of atheism, because most atheists are actually humanists. And so they do have a value system of they do value humans and won't kick puppies for that reason. They don't not kick puppies because of atheism.
true.
right, which is why I think it's just strange to use the label atheism. Like you could just use humanism and you would solve both.
The
you
label
would-
atheism is to contrast to theism. It has nothing to do with morality or puppies.
I think that's
And you
silly
could-
personally, but yeah.
I don't know if this fits into the definition of humanism, but I think that if you're considering humanism as just a belief that humans are inherently valuable, and you should do actions that increase human pleasure and decrease human suffering, that would be still compatible with theism. So you don't have to be an atheist to be a
Right,
humanist.
exactly. That's my point. Yes,
But-
that exactly. Thank you. That perfect. I wish I had a
What?
recording of that.
How does
But-
that have anything to do with?
Well,
But-
I'd say so when people identify as atheists and then also invoke a moral system that doesn't require atheism, I think to myself, then why are they saying they're an atheist? If it's a lack of belief, it doesn't get.
Like
It's
you,
just-
you can list.
Wait. Wait. You say you're a capitalist?
Yes, I have lots of different positions. I'm
No, that's a
an activist,
positive
I'm a-
belief. That's not a lack of
Yes.
belief.
Yes,
So-
that's the point. You can say different ideologies that
No,
don't necessarily
no.
do anything.
Lacks of beliefs are not relevant to. They're not the same as positive beliefs in things.
Right. Obviously, the reason people bring up atheism is just to contrast to theism. They're not
I
saying they
think
have an
that's
ideology.
stupid. Yeah, I think that's
No one
stupid.
cares what you think. What you think
Well,
is stupid doesn't matter. That's what they're saying.
Okay.
So your opinion
Okay.
on it doesn't matter.
Oh, well, that's fine.
No
I'm just
one, when
saying,
they say atheism, they say, "Oh, well, I don't kick puppies because I'm an atheist." That's not a part of atheism. Atheism is just your stupid, silly belief in religion is dumb. That's all it
and
means.
that's why it's stupid to label yourself as an atheist, because there's an infinite amount of things you also don't believe in that you don't list yourself. That
Which
you don't.
has
like-
nothing to do with the
that you
point.
don't
So
label
yes,
yourself.
there are an infinite number of things that can be in addition to being a capitalist. It doesn't matter. That's not relevant.
No. Capitalist is not a lack of belief in anything. It's a
It
positive.
doesn't matter if it's a
belief in
lack of a
something.
belief or a positive belief. There are always going to be infinitely many other things you can be in addition to it. It says one thing: I don't believe in religion, and that's what it's meant
Well,
to say. And it's
why don't you
actually
label
saying.
yourself as like an a solipsist then?
Why?
think-
What? Why would I do that? The point of atheism is
Exactly.
to contrast theism.
Why would? Yeah, I don't. Can you
Because I don't talk to solipsists. I can do that definitely. I just don't. It's totally fine to do that.
Okay. I
I
mean,
think we need to,
you could.
to pause here
I'm
and
interested.
calm down a little bit.
I'm interested in the Church of Solipsism, and can I join?
I'm
Yes.
not the right person to talk
Well-
about that, but I think Dan.
Sunflower, I think one of the things that I have one of the things you said I have a little bit of a problem with is that you said, as soon as we mentioned some of the doctrines of Christianity, you said, well, I'm not trying to defend Christianity, when you expressly said a couple minutes ago that Christianity is more tolerant than atheism. And
Oh no. Okay. Let me explain myself. I'm willing to rescind that. I thought I already clarified that.
okay, well, if
I was saying,
All
like,
right.
as in terms of like a significant portion of America, I was mostly referring to America, or worldviews like worldwide. But I'm totally fine rescinding that and saying that atheists are more tolerant. That wasn't really.
Okay, well, then, in that case, I guess your argument about the beneficial nature of religion and tolerance is, at least in Christianity's in terms of Christianity, is not valid, at least in your opinion, I guess. But
Well, I'm not. That's not the only variable for me. Tolerance isn't the only.
I
value.
agree that tolerance isn't the only thing that matters, but it is a really, really large thing. And if you're going to make the argument that, am I mistaken when I say that you're making the argument that religion, even if it's false, is beneficial to humans?
I'm making the argument that the label atheism is useless and meaningless.
I agree.
I don't.
Well, I mean, I agree in terms of it shouldn't be necessary. I don't agree with that it's meaningless because, obviously it only acquires meaning in the sense that there are religions, and so if I create another religion today, then you will be an atheist to that religion. So it's sort of meaningless in that sense. But if you're trying to make have a discussion about Christianity and whether or not it's believable or whether or not religion as a whole is believable, you could say I'm an atheist, and that's just. But what I really wish, and I think that a lot of people share this belief, I wish that wasn't even necessary, because it shouldn't be that you have to have a label for something that is not a belief, right? It's actually a lack of belief.
Me too, exactly. That's my exact point. I think it comes from a desire to be kind of edgy and rebellious against.
No, it doesn't.
It comes from a desire to distinguish yourself. In a society where
That's selfish, ultimately.
Yeah.
No, it comes from a way. No, it's saying you guys all believe this and I don't believe that. So it's saying there's the majority.
That's adolescent behavior.
No, that's science.
No,
it's not.
Teenagers shop at Hot Topic and wear black band shirts and paint their fingernails and say, I'm a nonconformist,
No, it's called a label. It was invented by the Greeks. Calling it adolescence, which means you're ignorant of the basic philosophy. Calling yourself an atheist, the point of that is because the vast majority of people is religious, and you want to distinguish yourself from them and say, I don't agree with that ideology, which is perfectly reasonable. That's why people live every single ideology. It's no different. So the lack of belief, positive belief makes no difference. You're just distinguishing yourself from a different group. That's all it means, which is perfectly reasonable.
Well, usually they would to form communities.
Yes, we do that.
Yeah. Why do Christians wear the crucifix? Sunflower?
You're asking me that question?
Yeah. Why do Christians wear a crucifix?
Well, that's a positive belief. So again, I'm distinguishing lacks of beliefs.
It's to distinguish themselves as a believer. I'm a believer. That's the same reason why, say, a Jew might wear a yarmulke.
That's a positive belief, though. Like if I have a favorite,
it's a culture. So atheists have a culture of people who agree with them on the same ideology, and that's a positive belief. I have a positive belief that there is a culture of people who are atheists.
Didn't you say the atheist part doesn't make you do anything? Like you could have an atheist.
It doesn't make you do anything. There's a culture to it. You agree. You all have a similar ideology, and so your similar ideology has an effect, but the ideology itself doesn't.
Ideology, but it could get you anywhere. You could still hate certain people with just the lack of belief in religion.
Nazis have a culture too.
Who does?
Nazis. People who hate each other also have a culture. So people who have a culture, a word that identifies their culture, is a thing.
If the only thing that atheists can relate to each other on by default is the fact that they don't believe in God, then what you're saying makes sense. I just think that's a silly thing to form a community.
That makes perfect sense. If everyone has blonde hair and then there's 10 people who have brown hair, and that's the one thing, or they don't have blonde hair, then that's the one thing they have in common, then that's fine. Even if they all have different color hair, they can all be in one culture of the not blonde hair people. That's totally fine.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I just think that most people value other stuff more. So it's
no one cares what you think. This isn't your ideology. So your opinion on it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. We don't care. This is our ideology. This is how we use the words. And if you disagree, well, tough. I don't care.
Okay.
Well, I think his point is that it's silly to call atheism it's kind of silly to have to have a word for atheism because it's not a worldview. And I think we kind of somewhat agree on this, but don't really agree on some of the semantics of it. But the thing is that how do I put this? I think the reason that atheism can be the reason I dislike using atheism as an actual term or atheist or whatever is that it implies to most people's minds that it is a positive belief system. Because when we see a label or hear a label rather, we assume that there is some significance attached to that and some meaning, and it's weird to for instance in that analogy that was given about some people that are blonde and some people that aren't. We don't usually call people non-blondes or whatever you want to call them. We might call them brunettes, or we might call them the people who have black hair. I don't know if there's a specific word for that, or redhead. But we don't call them non-blondes because there's no point in doing that. And and even if you want to take this analogy a little further, atheism would be more akin to having no hair at all. So if somebody's bald, like, doesn't have a hair color at all.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's bald, it's the same point. But the point is that if most people share one trait and you have a different trait, then the non-people who have that trait would be a thing that the society would recognize. So the reason atheism is a reasonable trait is because so many people are religious, and rejecting that is so unique in culture. Which is why non-properties exist, is because you're different from the rest of the people. And there are lots of examples of those, not just atheism, in many cultures.
I understand that, but like, think about this: like, if two people are Christian, they're not only like grouping together based on some kind of like sort of like
Who cares why they're together? What difference does that make? What difference does it make why they're grouping together? That makes no difference. We can group together because we both don't like golf, and we're the golf hating group.
Okay,
that's totally fine.
I'm just gonna finish my point there. Like, I think that there's almost any other issue has potential to make two people not get along at all. Like, for example, like if you're an atheist that is homophobic, communist, and loves black metal, and you meet another atheist that's not homophobic, capitalistic, and hates metal music, I doubt that you two are going to get along. Whereas if you're a Christian,
who cares if you get along? It's totally irrelevant. Again, you keep bringing up these irrelevant things that mean nothing. Like, it doesn't matter.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand why people put atheist in their Twitter bios, and I just can't figure it out. That's what I'm trying to
Because we're not theists. That's literally what is the definition of atheism. That's why they put it in there, because we don't like theism. We think theism is stupid, and we think it's a dumb ideology and not supported, and that's what we have in common. That is the thing we have in common.
I mean, fair enough.